Hi everyone, Matt here. Today we are continuing on with HiveSwap FriendSim. When we last left off, we finished Volume 3, and now we're starting off with Volume 4, of Right and Wronged. Fresh from your most recent bout of treacherous bodily injury and touching scenes of camaraderie, you soldier on. You've had a few setbacks, made a couple silly choices. Boy, do things just keep happening. But let nobody say that you, the main character, are incapable of growth and change. You have made sure not to be caught in the wilderness near dawn again. You have made your way back to civilization. You can't wait to discover what new adventures await you. Ventures like friendship. Tagora Gorjak, or Vicary Rati. Let's go with the latter. It's probably best for you to stop trying to predict what's going to happen to you at this point. Everything that's happened so far on this planet has kind of been chaotic. In fact, you're ready for something more familiar. We head back to the side of your abandoned spaceship. Sure, it's smashed beyond repair, but it's a little slice of home. Maybe at least one or two pieces of it are fixable. You march off in what you think is the right direction, but when you get there, you're not alone. A little guy in a hat and big goggles is standing there gazing at your spaceship. Maybe assessing it? As you watch, he breaks off a couple gears and stuffs them in his pocket. Hey, you clear your throat loudly. Good galloping gravy. Why, I've never seen the likes of you before. What strange wonders the heaven have rained down upon us today. We clearly lose any indignation you were building up. He's smiling at you, and his words seem at least somewhat amicable. Maybe you got this all wrong. Maybe this is the next person you're going to get chummy with. You got right to chase. No point in beating around to the ground leaf covering. That's probably what they call it on this planet. You let this guy know you're the proprietor of the spaceship he's stripping, and you're in mighty need of a new friend. A friend, eh? A bosom companion? A pal about town? I've seen nary a Tom and Dickus or Harry around these parts who might fit the bill. You were kind of trying to imply that this guy could be your friend. Is it too late to say that now? You tried to imply it with your eyebrows. As for me, day-to-day matters here on Alternia interests me not. For I only care about hurtling at great speed through the boundless expanse of the cosmos. That's right, space. It is spaceflight that consumes my every waking thought and all my ardor. As in accordance with my duty as a future Alternian crusader, of course. No oxygen, no wind, a total vacuum. That is the life for me, all right. Flying in space, above the atmosphere, not within the realms of gravity purview. Wouldn't have it any other way. Right. You get the feeling you're missing something. This guy seems really defensive about his interest in spaceflight. Like, maybe he's trying to say something totally different? Whatever it is, his internal conflict clearly takes precedence over your issues. Seems like a great candidate for a friend, despite the fact that his voice sounds like it belongs to a newsreel about World War II. I have just one query for you, sport, if I may be so bold. Do you also like spaceflight? Do you yearn to see the moon shining above the clouds whipping by as you chase and tease the impish western wind? And then also keep going past that up into space? Tell me you love spaceflight. Well, then we are in total agreement. Two kindred souls traveling hand in hand into a glorious yet inevitable future of constricted service in space. Which is, as I've already made clear, a thing I definitely and positively desire. So it seems we have nothing more to discuss. Toodaloo. Toodaloo. That's the wrong option. Tell me you're not so sure about spaceflight. His eyes widen. You see them sparkle? Ah, I see. You're an individual with more sophisticated palate. Real connoisseur of the buoyant arts you are. Someone like you could never be satisfied with the anemic affair of traveling through the inky blackness of the galaxies. I believe a jaunt to my hive is in order. Let's get a wiggle on. There was a lot going on there, but you understand that he wants you to follow him. And blah 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 blah. The friendly guide takes you to a building where all the rooms seem to be balanced on spindly-looking stilts. The hive soars above you up into the sky. He gestures to a little platform attached to the pulley system, like a rudimentary elevator. It brings you up to a small dark room. This house is pretty much what you would have guessed. The walls are covered in star maps and pictures of spaceships. You notice that many of them have cherry slogans slashed across them. Saying things like "Explore the galaxies" because you're required to fulfill your duty to society, and enlist, travel, make friends, don't get cold. Your new friend doesn't seem too happy as he looks around the place. Just the hive for dedicated spacecraft enthusiasts, isn't it? You nod. You're not sure what this is leading to, but no one ever went wrong in playing a non-specific and a plausibly deniable agreement. Who am I fooling? You've rumbled me, potential new chum. What you see before you is a collage of falsehoods. I'm nothing but an avatar of a loony. In truth, the myriad temptation and desires of space to nothing to tick my biscuit. The thought of participating in glorious eternal conquest gives me the screaming knees. My interest lies in something a little lower down. He reaches up and peels back one of the posters. Behind it is another poster, this one showing a view of clouds in the night sky. Behold, my shame! Truth is, I long to toss and turn within the grasp of Mistress Gravity's sweet fingers. She traversed the sky. Can such a thing be? Imagine flying within the confines of Alternia's very atmosphere, defying the very conventions of what we all know to be true. Instead of down, up! Instead of falling, soaring! Can you imagine? Can you see it before you? Could you ever dream of the existence of such a flying machine? Tell him airplanes exist. I brought you here to show my truth, and you treat me to mockery. An airplane? Plane that floats on in the air? Flying machines are serious business. I think you should leave. Man, game over. Dumb, you've never heard of such a thing. Ah, but the future is ours to build, my strange-hued and unhorned comrade. What do you think? Does it excite you? Do my ideas rattle your buttons? You can't help but notice that he's referred to you as a chum and a comrade, but friend hasn't made an appearance yet. Do synonyms count? Or is it just a tick of his speaking style? You look at as earnest as you can and nod vigorously. You are almost positive that this is the thing he really wants you to express interest in. Ah, aha, the truth will out. You and I share this fugitive passion for the indulgences of the air. Dialogue between a troll, a flying machine, and the stars. Now, further away from the stars than we would be in a spaceship. I cannot stress enough how different of a thing this is. You can't decide between nodding and shaking your head here, so you furrow your brow and do your best to look thoughtful. Like maybe you are contemplating the differences. This fellow's demeanor toward you is definitely shading to the more temperate climate zones. However, certain physical needs are starting to assert themselves. You're still pretty banged up from your previous adventures. But right now, the aching of your stomach is screaming for attention. You humbly ask your friend-to-be if there might be anything of getting a bite to eat. Oh, but of course! Why, if I'd known you had a rumbling in the old digestion bladder, I would have shut my yapper toot sweet. Time for a good old nosh. A Yamaruni. What ho! Now, how should we obtain the victuals? We could venture into the great unknown, which is, say, out of my hive. Or we could stay here, beholden to whatever twists and turns Lady Fate has in store for us in the nutrition block. What say you, new timer? Yay, more choices! I thought it was weird that 2 choices already came up, and we're barely 10 minutes in. Let's go and look for food. From your budding chum's words, it sounds like he himself isn't sure if there's any food in the house. Best to risk it and go outside. You tell him your decision. Top choice, buckaroo. Foraging is how I while away most of my time. After all, there's just one small matter to trouble the old brain power. If we're venturing out into the unknown yonder, we should obtain some chow for my Lucius as well. He'll be a real grumpy Gustav if he goes too long without his nosh. You draw yourself up proudly. It's taken a lot of bizarre run-ins and harrowing close shaves, but you know all about Lucius's. And inquire about Gustav, was it? Ho ho, what a card you are! No, my Lucius. I call him Canary. He whips out a photo. It shows a smaller version of himself, his horns nothing but stubs, a far too big pair of Avatar goggles slipping off his nose. Sitting behind him is a large white fowl. Big, scraggly wings folded back behind its body. You want to say an emu? Whatever it is, it's definitely not a canary. Its beak touches the top of your pal's head with something that might count as affection. He's not a persnickety sort. All kinds of bugs and leaves will tickle his fancy. Shall we away? Shall we greet the horizon that rushes forward to meet us with astounding grace? Shall we give ourselves over to the current of time's great river? You tell him. You can leave the house. It's getting a lot easier to pay attention to. Only the words this guy says that actually make sense. You kind of enjoy his way of speaking, though. Nothing else, it gives you the feeling that he's going to get really excited about this food quest you're going on together. Your alien pal leads you back down through the pulley system and outside again. The trip is not so easy on your bruised ribs. The thing about walking is, when you walk, your body moves. You've had better times, is all you're saying. You indicate as much to your companion. Oh boy, I hear ya. Moving while attached to alternating surface is the worst kind of hooey. The moment when autonomous flight is advantage trembles ever closer to the present. Can you hear it approach? The wail of a distant klaxon. The call to adventure. It beckons us forward through the years, a golden thread stretching ever onward to that glorious inevitability. That's not what you meant, but as excitement cheers you up a little. Maybe you will feel better in the future when someone invents flight on this planet. But certainly, by that time, either you'll be further along in your healing or dead. Either way, thinking about that future brings a little rosy glow to your heart. You ask your buddy where you're going next. The world is our bivular sea critter. We'll go wherever the wind calls our names. Great. But if it's a short-term answer you're inquiring after, there's a specific plant that the canary likes to eat. It's got white petals and leaves as red as a troll's white lurid desires. Could you give the holler if your bulbs fall on something of that persuasion? You agree to keep an eye out. You continue trudging along beside him, wincing whenever your step jolts your injuries. Maybe a little conversation will help distract you. You ask your new friend what got him so interested in flying in the first place. What could be better? Up there, free of worldly concerns. The wind in your face and the horizons at your back. Seeing continent spread out below you, finally feeling that your personal aesthetic is appropriate for the given circumstances. You chew over this one for a minute or two. Seems like what really makes this guy tick is the travel and adventure thing. Or maybe that's just what you're getting from his general demeanor. And pretty much everything he's said up until now. You're nervous to bring up anything that might make him dislike you, but in interest of bonding, you forge ahead. Aren't there, you say with apprehension, maybe some similarities between flying and space travel? Like maybe being in a spaceship could satisfy some of these urges? What? There may be some superficial similarities to trick the common troll, but in essence, the blood pusher and soul of each, as different as night and day, as a mountain and a ditch, a star and a mud puddle. Don't get a fellow wrong, space travel is fine. Well, it's the only way to satisfy our bloodthirsty and nearly immortal overlords, and I look forward to such a time when I can be of service in the eternal millstone grind of intergalactic conquest. But it's missing the punch, the pizzazz, the kaboom, the trunk beast honk of it all. Just as you feared, you've stepped in it now. You're struggling for a response when out of the corner of your eye you spot a cluster of white flowers. Relieved, you point them out to your companion, who races over to gather them. But when he holds one up, you can see it has blue leaves, not red. Your shoulders droop. Seems like all you're doing is disappointing your buddy, who has been so nice to you. Or at least, that's the way you think you've read between the lines of his confusing speaking style. Fear not, my smooth-head compatriot. These are not the Lucis' rations we sought, but this plant is people chow. What I mean to say is, we eat it. Since we are people, it's food for people, not food made out of people, to be clear. He comes back with a fistful of flowers and hands you one of the blue leaves. You're not at all sure that food that's safe for your buddy will be safe for you as well, but at this point you don't have much to lose. Besides, with the way your stomach is growling, it might as well be a perfectly seared steak. You put it in your mouth. Chewing on the leaf, you feel even more affectionate toward this guy than before. You were worried this trip was turning into an excuse for him to run some kind of household errand, but he really did find you something to eat. You are desperate to find some way to show him that you understand his interests. You want to connect to him on a deep soul level. Anything to get him to look at you with that treasured glow of friendship in his eyes. Whenever he mentions space travel, he talks about how it's something that he has to do. Some kind of necessary obligation. So maybe there's a reason he's fixated on an activity that is kind of similar, but just a little different. Maybe he doesn't want to do the required thing, the space conquest, but doesn't have it in him to rebel entirely all the way. Maybe airplane flight, or whatever similar thing he is envisioning, is a compromise between what he has to do and what he wants to do. A balance, like all must find, in order to live as an individual in a society that shapes one's desire from birth. You cautiously open your mouth, heart pounding. You venture to ask if your pal, if he would rather not satisfy the demands of the bloodthirsty overlords. If maybe a part of him wants to get into his flying machine and, leave for real. Seems taken aback. Maybe you should never have said it. What a huge mistake. You've probably pushed his friendship out of your reach for good now. Panicking, you point to the side, yelling that you see a big field of white flowers in that direction. Your potential friend leaps to action, seemingly also glad to be given a reason not to answer this question. He races forward in the direction you indicate. In a matter of seconds, there's a yelp, and your acquaintance vanishes. Instantly, you realize your error. You didn't look where you were pointing. While walking, you unwittingly came close to the edge of a large cliff, which your companion has now disappeared over. You race to his side, your stomach flooding with fear. This is absolutely the opposite of what you wanted. You look down in horror. Your friend now looks It's mainly how you felt when you first crash landed on this dark planet. He's conscious, his face frozen in shock, but one leg is twisted underneath him in a nasty way. You may not be familiar with his alien autonomy, but you're almost positive that it shouldn't look like that. You call out to him in distress. Sure, he's going to castigate you for your mistake. The strangeness of his language won't make it hurt any less to lose this guy's trust forever. What ho! Calloo, Callay! His voice floats up from the ground below, weak but somewhat jovial. Is it possible he's not angry? Oh, joyous happening! Oh, delight for the body and spirit! Did you see? Did your being absorb what occurred before your very viscerage? I flew! Soared through the air! Just for a moment, but it happened. Ecstasy like none I've ever known. You hesitate. Is it really possible that he could be taking this so well? That maybe your big fuck-up was a step in the right direction after all? It's definitely a little worrying to hear him celebrate a dangerous fall, but none of that matters if you can secure his friendship at last. My strange associate, come on down here. We will celebrate in grand fashion this eve. How did you know that a brief sojourn through unfettered air would bring me such joy? You're a fine fellow, and truly superb friend. Yard lifts with joy. He said it. Of course, you now have to find some way to climb down the cliff, with your messed up ribs, not to mention figuring out how to transport someone with a broken leg back to the house. You're not really sure if that's possible, or when the adrenaline that's got you this far will give out and force you to succumb to your own pain. But with a night full of difficulties ahead of you, you couldn't ask for a better balm than knowing you'll face them hand in hand with your friend. Assuming he didn't hurt his hands as well. No matter, you did it. Victory! Alright, let's stay in the hive. You tell him any food he has in the house will be fine. Surely staying here will get you fed more quickly. No problem at all, my fine and fervent fellow. However, I believe two kindred souls such as ourselves have more ways of communicating than mere words alone. I think I'm grasping the meaning behind your request. The signal from your transmitter is pinging my cranial orb's receiver, and see what you're truly after is food for the soul. You definitely meant food for the body. You look for an opening where you might gently correct your new buddy. But he seems to be working himself up to say a lot more things. The delectable nutrition of what a troll's truest being craves. The sustenance of thought, of imagination, of desire. That which nourishes the self better than the finest grub noodles. Art, passion, science! You must have a hankering to see my flying machine design sketches. Despite your troubles, you can't help but think his enthusiasm is kind of sweet. You nod weakly. Make one last attempt, indicating that food might strengthen you to fully appreciate his work. No need to worry. I am fully confident in your ability to take in my glorious blueprints. You have shown yourself to be quite the study noggin and a discerning dinner bulb. I would welcome your input. Warmth blooms in your stomach. It feels nice to hear him compliment you. You're not sure what you've actually done to earn his praise, but you definitely don't want to ruin this now. Maybe seeing his designs will be fun, even on an empty stomach. Maybe it really will nourish you on a level that will help you forget about the prosaic, earthly nourishment you thought you wanted. You tell him you're in. Not so fast. That which I am planning to reveal to you is what I keep closest to my torso pillar. It's not that I don't trust you, my footloose and horn-free cohort, but I think I would like to trust you a little more before eviscerating myself, and displaying my bleeding organs before your penetrating gaze, which is a metaphor for exposing my portfolio. Might I trouble you to participate in a small trust trial? No problem, you tell him. Your bud insists you make yourself comfortable while he gets a few supplies. After a few minutes, he returns with a fistful of fabrics in different colors. Here's what I've been bouncing around the old brain box of mine, buddy-o. I'm going to tie this blindfold around your face. Then I'm going to give you some instructions. And you're going to try to locate the case where I keep my treasured sketches. If you can find it, it's gotta mean we trust each other deeply. Like two wings working in unison to achieve liftoff. That's how wings work. I'm still figuring out the principles of the matter. What a romp! Are you up for it? It's too late to turn back now. And really, you don't want to. It's kind of a relief to have him tell you what you can do to earn his friendship in plain terms. Well, as plain as this guy's terms ever get, give him a thumbs up. Now we're on the trolley. Quickly ties the fabric around your face. The time is upon us. Time for the inaugural flight of our deepening bond. Time to nudge our fledgling companionship out of the nest and see what happens. Your new friend starts to direct you around the room. To the left. No, my left. Sorry, okay, I meant your left. And now onwards to the glorious future that lies before us. Smile weakly, doing your best to follow his instructions. He sounds happy. You must be getting somewhere. Almost to the doorway. 3 steps forward if you would be so. Wait! Crash. You stagger backward from the impact. You hear yourself wheeze. The shock has totally knocked your lungs out of commission. Chest jerks and tiny contractions as you gasp for air. Oh, beans. Ding ding, darn it. There's no pain, just an intense pressure focused on the center of your face. Right around where you ran into something face first. You pull out the blindfold and you hear footsteps. Which probably means your new friend is rushing over to help. He gets the blindfold untied, and his face swims into your vision. He looks utterly gobsmacked. Well, I'll be a horn beast grub food. Everything Copatech, new pal. Put your hand to your face and touch something wet. Sure enough, when you pull your fingers away, they're covered in blood. Your nose isn't gushing or anything, just sending a couple rivulets to let you know it's having a bad day. It's not so bad. Tell your acquaintance this, and he doesn't look any less horrified. Shivering, struck acutely. All this time I've been testing you, to see if I could place the tiny gift of trust in your declawed little hands. And here you've bestowed upon me the greatest trust of all. Knowledge of your non-standard hematological attributes. I'm truly honored. Flabbergasted. Absolutely pushed to the brink of rationality by such a display of faith. Never mind the trust trial. You deserve to see my sketches. Just wait here. Be back in 2 shakes of a baby Bobby's hind quarters. You sit down on the floor again, wiping the blood off your face. You are not going to question the stroke of luck you've been shown. Why, if you knew bleeding was the key to his affections all along, you could have encouraged some blood from the sites of your multiple injuries. But no matter. You sniff the last of the blood back up into your nostrils, tasting metal at the back of your throat. When your almost friend returns, he drops a big stack of papers onto your lap. You page through the designs. First through a rudimentary, mostly variations of spaceships with little notes like, how do you make it not reach escape velocity? And less jet fuel? Shape could be less aerodynamic? As you keep going, the designs get pretty interesting. One seems to rely on some big rotating sails to achieve lift. Another shows a light frame body attached to 4 jointed wings. You briefly wonder what he plans to make the wings out of before you see follow to see the note stating that these are dragging wings. A follow-up scribble states, flapping mechanism? How to soften rigor mortis. But hang on. Take a closer look at this machine's frame. This guy's sketch is pretty detailed. Frame doesn't seem to be made out of wood or aluminum as you expected, but smaller individual shapes lashed together by some kind of cord. Maybe it's just a macabre aesthetic, but you think it looks like bones? Look back at the other designs. Now that you look at it, the sails in this one have a similar texture that might be leather, or similar. Sketches themselves are picked out in a variety of colors, not dissimilar from some of the brand new blood colors you've discovered lately. Oh boy, you've been down this creepy alien road before. Using your this most jocular tone, you question the bone shapes. You soften your words with a big, not freaked out smile. What's that? Well, I'm not a construction professional, you know. Gotta make use of what's available. Only cold blowbuds and grubs, of course. Not an ounce of insurrectional spirit in this fellow over here. Fear not, unhoard one. These wacky cultural differences. You just misunderstood. You take refuge in your old standby of nodding and smiling. It's none of your business what body parts this fellow uses, or doesn't use, to make his Wright brothers' transformative fan works. Friends aren't for judging people's use of corpses as construction materials anyway. No. When you crash-landed on my planet, I had no idea what to think. Thackeray, old boy, you've really shot the balls now. That's what I told myself. Telling an alien about your flying dreams? That's ruffled the kitty, no doubt about it. But now that we're here and you're having a looky-loo at my sketches, I'm thinking it might have been right for us to meet all along. Perhaps the work of the capricious Madame Destiny? Surely he's about to say that you are friends. You can almost taste those sweet friendship-affirming syllables coming from his mouth. You are just seconds away from that coveted F word. Or are you? Maybe you misconstructed everything. You look back down at the sketches. Bones in this one, bones in that one. He says these plans call for the bones of aliens like him. At least if you understood him correctly. But they don't really look that different from, well, the bones you're familiar with. Your own bones. Bones which have already gone through a lot today. But maybe seem to be in a kind of harvestable condition? If one was so inclined. Clearing throat. Aha, you say he's not in the market for these materials right now, is he? Like, right now? The friendly guy doesn't understand your question. You're not going to push it. But you do risk a quick glance at yourself, then back at him. Then back at yourself, just to see if he's checking out the stuff, so to speak. When you look back at him, he looks aghast. Oops. Heavens to biscuits. Is that what you think of me? You think I'm the type to start taking people's body parts all higletly, as if there aren't plenty of thoughtlessly discarded rib cages to work with? If that's the type of gent you're looking for in these parts, I'm afraid I'm not the type of aggressive heartthrob you're after. We can't all be the macho, bloodthirsty, romantic hero type, ready to whip out our organ harvesting tools at a moment's notice. I thought we could be friends, and now I see you're looking for something different. My apologies. I think it's best if you go elsewhere. You want to correct him. You want to correct the misunderstanding, but you're not fully sure what the misunderstanding is. This guy doesn't seem to be in any mood for friendship right now. You hang your head. Looks like this was all just big waste of time. Misunderstood. Well, that will be all for this time on HiveSwap FriendSim. Or FriendSim. FriendSim. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you like my content, subscribe. And yeah, have a good day and do what you do best.